Greetings and welcome to another day out in the landscape. I'm at Wastwater today. I've spent a few days at Wastwater. Fantastic location. Weather hasn't been brilliant, but fantastic location. And I've said this before, I consider every moment out in the landscape as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to experiment. So it's, for me anyway, it's never ever a waste of time, even if the images I take are not necessarily the, absolutely banging images that I want to print off and hang on my wall or sell at an exhibition or whatever. What I want to talk to you today about is a guiding principle that drives me as a photographer. And that guiding principle is a singular question. It's actually two questions, but the first question is the most important one. And that question is, why am I taking this photograph? It's a simple question, but it's a question that drives me. Now, I'm quite an emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve, etc., etc. And as a result of who I am as a person, the things that I do have to mean something. They mean something to me personally. I don't do things for the sake of it, which for anybody that has a hobby, that's maybe a bit of a deep statement, but with every hobby I've ever followed and undertaken, there's always been something personal about it. And photography is very personal to me because I feel emotional when I'm in the landscape. It's beautiful, it's pretty, it's foreboding, it's cold. Those are reactions and emotions on me. And it's that kind of reaction that I'm always trying to portray in the images that I create. So as you just saw from that small piece of B-roll, I've approached this location quite deliberately. What I've not recorded is the fact that I probably spent 15 to 20 minutes wandering around this shoreline looking for vantage points that communicated what I was trying to say. So the vantage point that I've chosen is that one. I have a mountain here, I have a mountain there shrouded in cloud, and then you've got the outline of a mountain here. Because of the weather, I am being hopefully drawn into the distance, because this mountain and this mountain are relatively visible, and then the layers in the background are less visible, and they're all shrouded in cloud, and it's all moody and grungy and all the rest of it. And yes, I am walking into the water. I do that quite deliberately. But what I was looking for was something in the water to echo the shapes of the mountains, because it's the shapes of the mountains that have made me look in this direction. So I found this rock here, whose shape is very, very similar to all of these fells and mountains all around. Now, I've moved to the left and the right quite a lot, because there are actually two smaller rocks. There's one in the water sort of over here on the right, and there's where is it? There's a sort of a larger, more prominent one out there. Now, no matter what I do, they clash with my larger rock. Nothing I can do about that. But in fact, that clash of foreground echoes what's going on in the distance. So I have an association between the two. I'm trying to tell the viewer about the weather, the exposure, the fact that I'm slightly chilly, that there is, you know, there's definitely foreboding here up in the sky. It rained about an hour ago. Rain is due in about an hour. In fact, the clouds behind me are starting to look decidedly horrible. So it's that kind of thought and impression and notion and idea that I'm trying to put across. Now, I initially got very, very low to my rock, but my initial attempts at doing that were unsuccessful, because what I actually did, I'm not sure I can do this on the Osmo. My knee's getting wet, sorry. Was my main rock actually interfered with the mountains in the distance. So I actually had to come up a little bit to create a bit of separation between that rock and the fells beyond. And I think that separation is important, because again, it adds to the idea of layers. The viewer is being drawn into the scene. Okay, so here is my camera. I've composed the scene using the EVF. There's my EVF, showing all the information that it shows. I've quite deliberately used manual focus. Manual focus is on that rock to make sure that that rock is lovely and sharp. Let's just swap to the LCD view so you can see the whole view. So I am at f11 this time. That's to ensure that all of my rocks are nice and sharp, because I've actually got a rock, this little one here, down on the bottom right hand side, that's a little bit closer. And I think this one, this collection here, is a little bit further away. And notice all of the rocks that I've got in my composition, they're all pointy. And they're all pointy because I'm looking at mountains. Makes sense to me anyway. That's what I'm trying to say with my image. So let me just recheck focus. Focus is good. So I have got a neutral density grad over the front of the lens, and that's just to try and hold the sky back a little bit. It's also had the added advantage of creating a bit of mood up in the top 2/3-ish of the image. I'm kind of thinking that this image will be black and white. So what I can do with this camera is I can actually preview what it might look like in black and white, and I think it's fair to say black and white probably suits the mood, suits the tone. In fact, I'll leave it like that because it'll take a color image anyway. So histogram looks okay. I'm just going to protect the highlights and just bring it back a little bit. I have an exposure of 4 seconds. I'm at ISO 6, which is an artificially high ISO. I also have a polarizer. You can see there, look, the water's now a lot brighter. If I bring the polarizer back down, the effect of the water is reduced. I'm just going to level the camera up like so. Recheck the focus point because I've moved the position of the camera. That's looking all right. Right. Take the image. And then, as I usually do, I review the image on the back of the camera. Oh, that's looking really quite nice, isn't it? Let's just check the histogram. Histogram is looking also quite nice. I actually noticed I've now got a splash of light on the mountains in front of me. I'm not sure if the Osmo is picking it up, but it's definitely there. So in order to enhance that, I've just had a play with the color modes. Ooh, that's a bright one. And what I've noticed is there's a color mode called Sunset Red. which actually, that picks up the colour really nicely. So I'm going to take that one as well. And bear in mind for a minute, I'm not doing this to be frivolous. I'm doing this because the original scene in front of me is exhibiting a similar quality. Just wait for that to process. Okay. And we review the image. Yeah. It's still got the colour that the splash of light or the increase in ambient light is giving me, but it's retained the same mood and drama and so on and so forth that's there in the original scene. So, I don't know. We'll see when we get that on the computer. So that's just a very quick and dirty sort of description of finding a scene, thinking about the things that make that scene up. The second question is, what are the elements in the scene that interest me? And hopefully the description of the description of the decisions, easy for me to say, has demonstrated the second question. What are the elements in the scene that interest me? One feeds the other, but the two questions together drive both what the camera looks at, the technical choices that I make with the camera, but then also when I get home, it also drives the decisions that I make in software that result in a final image. So it's kind of like a race through. I would say the vast majority of the time, I don't think about what I've just talked about. It's instinctive, it's natural, I don't know, but I genuinely don't give it a huge amount of conscious thought. It just happens. And I think that feeds into the notion that it demonstrates that I am who I am, that sort of approach is so natural and so it happens without any thought, and it therefore plays into it is who I am as a person. So yeah, I hope it's been interesting. If you've not thought about what drives you as a photographer or an artist, I would consider giving it some thought and then understanding how you can use that realization to help you create your next piece of work. I'm not going to guarantee you that you'll learn from it, but I think it might open your eyes, especially if you do really realize and really appreciate why you get out behind a camera. Maybe you're just a hobbyist and you like to go snap, snap, snap and go, yeah, that's quite nice. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm a little bit deeper than that. I'm trying to say something. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe. And until I see you back out in the landscape again, stay well and stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye for now.